It's good to see you today. Hope you're having a good day. Thanks for tuning in as we look into God's Word for just a few minutes. Come on over to the Gospel of Matthew. We're going to be looking at the parable of the 10 virgins today. Matthew 25. Let's get over there and let's read it together. Matthew chapter 25, verse 1. Then the kingdom of heaven shall be likened to 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Now 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. Those who were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them, but the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. But while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight a cry was heard, Behold, the bridegroom is coming, go out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, saying, No, lest there should not be enough for us and you, but go rather to those who sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came. Those who were ready went in with him to the wedding, and the door was shut. Afterward the other virgins came also, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, Assuredly I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour in which the Son of Man is coming. There's a number of points we could make about the parable. The context here, the Lord has been speaking about the destruction that was coming to Jerusalem, but it also looks like he's pointing further out to judgment itself. And to look at the parable of the 10 virgins, some very simple points I would suggest that we can draw out from the account. Some very simple points. One is this. The main point is be prepared. That's what we are called to do, whether we are talking about those who were living in the first century or whether we're talking about those who are today. Be prepared. We don't know when the Lord is going to return. We simply don't know. We know he's going to return, but we don't know when. Peter's epistle talks about that world that existed perished in the time of the flood because of the wickedness of man. We've spoken about that before. And just as the world then perished via water, the world that exists today is also going to perish, as the world and all the works that are in it going to be burned up. But it's going to happen like a thief in the night. So what do? You better prepare. That's what we need to do. That's what the Lord calls us to do. But also, don't be presumptuous. I think that's another point we can make. The main point is be prepared, but a side point is don't be presumptuous. To look back in the passage, to look at that, 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. Those who were foolish took their lamps, but took no oil with them. Why would they take no oil? They presumed that the bridegroom was going to come back sooner rather than later. The wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. Why? Because they weren't sure. They didn't know. I want you to consider verse 5 though. But if I can say it, while the bridegroom was delayed, they all slumbered and slept. When they saw that the bridegroom was delayed, what should they have done? They should have gone out and gotten more oil then. Not when the bridegroom came back. At that point, it was too late. They had opportunity. That's what they had. They had opportunity when they felt themselves being overcome by sleep. When they realized, holy smokes, he hasn't come yet. They should have gone out and bought oil then. They were presumptuous. They thought he would come back sooner than later. They end up paying the price for it. Don't be presumptuous. And actually go back to that. We can do the same thing. We can be presumptuous. We can presume that we know better than others. We can presume that we have everything figured out. We can presume a lot of things. We can assume. We should not be so presumptuous. We need to make sure that we're preparing ourselves, that we're examining ourselves, that we are reflecting on ourselves with God's Word to make sure that when the Lord comes back that we are as He would want to find us being. Don't be presumptuous. Be busy. Be busy preparing ourselves. That's what we need to be. Some things just won't share. That's one of the other, I would suggest it's one of the main points of this. When the foolish ones, when the call finally goes out, they say, would you please sell us some of your oil? And the wise ones say, no, we can't do that because then none of us might have enough. Some things will not share. As we think about faith, we need to recognize that while we may teach others, we need to recognize that sharing, as we think about that idea of sharing the gospel, it is not as though I am taking my faith and giving it to you against your will, if pardon phrasing it that way, but you understand what I mean. Some things won't share. Each person has to have faith. Each person has to obey the Lord. Each person has to be preparing themselves. That's what we have to do. Some things won't share. Each person has to be preparing themselves. Lord, Lord won't cut it. When they come, as we look at the passage, and those folks come knocking on the door, okay? There at the tail end. Afterward, the other virgins came also saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. He answered and said, assuredly I say to you, I do not know you. Lord, Lord won't cut it. Jesus has said this before, early on in Matthew chapter 7, I believe. Not everybody who says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom, but those who do my Father's will. Lord, Lord won't cut it. We actually have to be busy. We can't be presumptuous. We have to be preparing ourselves. We have to be working out our own salvation with fear and trembling. Just a few points about the 10 virgins. There's lots of points that we can make. Just a few points for us today, though. Hope you have a good day. Appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you tune in tomorrow for another brief look into God's Word. Just a little bit of our daily bread. Thanks for being with us.